It's funny. Sometimes the most powerful ideas in business are actually the simplest. They're so obvious in hindsight that you kind of wonder, why didn't I think of that? Today, we're going to dive into one of those ideas, a simple four-step loop that totally changed modern industry by asking one basic question: how can we get just a little bit better every single day?
So our story really kicks off with this guy, W. Edwards Deming. He was a statistician who became a total quality guru. Now, back in his day, the thinking was that if something went wrong on the factory floor, you blamed the worker. But Deming, he came along with this pretty radical idea. He said, nope, the real issue isn't with the people on the line, it's with the folks in the corner offices.
And look, this wasn't just some hunch he had. Deming backed it up with data. He argued that a whopping 85% of all quality problems, we're talking everything from defective products to sloppy service, weren't the fault of the individual worker. Nope, they were the direct result of bad systems, broken processes, and just plain flawed management. Now, at the time, this was a huge deal, a complete 180 from how everyone thought.
So, where did he get an idea like this? Well, a lot of it was shaped early on, when he was working summers at the famous Hawthorne facility in Chicago. He saw firsthand how management operated. They'd use these incentives and then turn around and punish workers when defects popped up. And he just knew, this isn't just demeaning, it's incredibly inefficient. There had to be a better way.
The old way was pretty much all about the blame game, right? You'd wait until the end of the line, inspect everything, and if you found a mistake, you'd find a worker to blame. Deming's approach completely flipped that on its head. His whole philosophy was stop blaming people and start fixing the system. That meant you had to build quality into the process right from the very beginning, and you had to treat your workers like partners who were key to making that happen.
But here's the thing about Deming. He wasn't just some philosopher with big ideas. He was a hands-on problem solver. He knew that for his philosophy to really catch on, people needed a simple, practical tool they could use over and over again. And that's what led him to champion the framework that would become his lasting legacy.
And what's really interesting is that this tool, it wasn't even his invention, not originally. It was an evolution. See, back in the 1920s, his mentor, a statistician named Walter Shewhart, came up with a simple three-step model for quality. It was a straight line. Fast forward a few decades, Deming is in Japan helping rebuild their industry after the war. He takes Shewhart's linear idea, bends it into a circle, and turns it into the powerful, repeatable four-step cycle we use today.
Okay, so how does this thing actually work? It looks almost too simple, but its real power is in the structure and the repetition that forces you to constantly learn. So let's pop the hood and break it down.
And here it is, the Deming cycle. You'll also hear it called the PDCA cycle. At first glance, it's just a wheel with 4 parts, but you should really think of this wheel as an engine for getting better. It creates this constant feedback loop that forces you to be smart and systematic about making improvements. The 4 stages are super easy to remember: plan, do, check, and act. PDCA. You can think of it like the scientific method, but applied to business. You come up with a theory, you run an experiment, you look at the results, and then you decide what to do next based on what you learned. First up is plan. And honestly, this might be the most important step of them all. This isn't just about quickly deciding what to do. It's about doing your homework. You have to really understand the current situation, find a problem or an opportunity, set a really clear goal, and then make a prediction. What change do you think will work, and what do you expect to happen? Next, you do. And the key phrase here is on a small scale. This is not the time to overhaul your entire company overnight. Think of it as a pilot program, a test drive. You run your experiment, you try out the new process, and, this is critical, you collect data on everything that happens.
Then comes check. Now, Deming himself actually preferred the word study for this part, and I think that's a really important distinction. Check kind of sounds like you're just ticking a box. Study implies you're really digging in. You take the data from the do phase and you put it right next to the predictions you made in the plan phase. Did it work? Why or why not? What did we learn here? This is where the real learning happens.
And finally, you act. This is where the rubber meets the road. Based on what you figured out in the study phase, you make a decision. If the change worked, awesome. You standardize it, you roll it out on a bigger scale. If it didn't, you either tweak the plan and run the cycle again, or you scrap the idea entirely. And here's the magic. As soon as you act, you're right back at the plan phase, getting ready for the next improvement.
So why are we still talking about this simple 4-step loop more than 70 years later? What makes this little wheel such a massive deal? Well, the answer is in its beautiful simplicity and the incredible results it can produce.
I mean, the benefits are pretty clear. For one, it's iterative.
It's all about this journey of constant improvement, not some one-and-done fix. It's also incredibly flexible. You can use it in a factory, in a software team, or even to improve your own personal habits. And while it's super simple to grasp, it's powerful enough to create massive change. In fact, it's so foundational, it's the blueprint for a lot of modern systems, like Six Sigma.
And I think this visual really captures the whole spirit of the idea. It's not about just going around in a circle forever. It's about climbing a ramp. Every single time you complete a full PDCA cycle, you lock in what you've learned, you secure your gains, and you start the next cycle from a higher place than before. It's a way to get smarter and better, one turn of the wheel at a time.
So that really leaves us with a final thought. This tool isn't just for giant corporations or complex factory floors. It's a universal framework for getting better at literally anything. So the real question is, what problem, what process, what goal in your own work, or even in your own life is just waiting for one simple, structured turn of this powerful wheel?